Now, before I get started, I do have an announcement. If you have not heard yet, I am doing my Astrology Basics course. So I'm a professional psychic. I've been doing it for a long time. And what I work on with people is I help people, healers and curse breakers, to heal themselves in order to embrace and embody their cosmic destiny. How I do that is through astrology, and that's part of why I've created the Astrology Basics course. So one, it's really good if you just want to learn more about your own chart and have an easier time when you do go into an astrologer to understand what they're saying. Because sometimes astrologers don't always translate from like astrology lingo into like normal everyday conversation. So sometimes they're a little bit hard to understand what they're talking about when you get an astrology reading. So it will help you if you ever get an astrology reading to really understand what the astrologer is talking about. Also, a lot of people who come to work with me are kind of destined to be future astrologers, to be future psychics. So this is a really great opportunity to learn astrology if you want to do it professionally. Now, this astrology course consists of 6 workshops. The first workshop is tomorrow. So the bundle deals expire tomorrow at noon because the first workshop is tomorrow at 3 p.m. In Mountain Time specifically. So if you are interested, definitely sign up. I'm going to leave the link in the comments and in the description for this so that you can click it and sign up. There is only 2 spots available left at the 125 because those opened up because I have people who are probably going to take the course at like a later date and weren't able to make it to the workshop that we're having on the 8th. So that's the first thing, is there's only 2 spots available for the price of $125. Individually, the workshops are $33. So if you bought them all individually, it would be just under $200 for all 6 workshops. So to get it for $125 is an absolute steal. You're saving almost $75 if you buy them all at once and you're the next 2 people to buy. If you happen to miss out, aren't the next 2 people to buy, you can still get it for the $150 as long as you buy it before. You have to buy it before tomorrow at noon. And so that's when this deal expires. Now, you can buy the workshops individually if you would like. If there's only, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 workshops that you want to take, they are $33 a piece. And I do have those links available in the event page. I'll put at least the workshop that's tomorrow. If you just want to buy the introduction to astrology to see if you're even interested in taking lessons on astrology, then I'll put that one in the description where you can just buy that individually if that's the only class that you're interested in. But there are 6 classes, 6 workshops that you can take. It's over a 6-week period. It's going to be every Thursday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. If you're interested, definitely sign up. We do have some room. We already have 3 wonderful participants who I personally love. It's going to be a great time. I also have a special community, a private Facebook group for only people who have bought this course. So you're also have access to this group where you can like learn together, and where there's like a weekly discussion, a weekly Q&A that's available in the Facebook group, as well as I'm putting a guide in there with extras. So not only do you get the workshops where we go over stuff over Zoom, and I have like a whole slideshow and everything where I explain the basics, and you can ask questions in the Facebook group and I'll answer there. You can also like discuss and learn together, and there'll be extra resources and extra knowledge and references. All of that is going to be in the Facebook group. So you also get free access to the Facebook group. So I think it's an amazing deal. So definitely come hang out. It's going to be great. I mean, even if you're not like super interested in astrology, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. There's great people. But I feel like astrology is life-changing. It really helps you to understand yourself and others on a really deep level. And I need to do a video on why you should learn astrology. I did write a blog post. So if you do go to my website and you go to my blog, there is a blog post on why you should learn astrology. It's like 5 reasons to learn astrology. And then I also have a blog post on, what you need to know to get started learning astrology, which I definitely suggest reading first, because it's a good just like tiny overview of kind of what we'll be talking about. And it also goes over the Astrology Basics course more. I also have the Astrology Basics course on the website. So if you go to the website and you go to the bottom of the homepage, there'll be a link to the Astrology Basics course page where you can learn more about the course, what we're going to talk about, because we're going to be going over all the basics. There's going to be first class is an introduction to kind of what everything is and how it's used. And then we have a workshop on the 12 signs. We have a workshop on the 12 houses, a workshop on the 10 planets, a workshop on the aspects. And we even have a final workshop to kind of pull all of that together and how to actually read a chart. So by the end of this course, you will know how to read an astrology chart. So it's really amazing. Please sign up. I would really love you to be there just because it is going to be amazing. It is so great for people who are looking to do this professionally or who want to know more about themselves and how they work, people who are focused on spiritual growth, healers. It's an amazing tool. And this is a great way to get started. I've made it really, really digestible because I've seen so many astrology books that the way it talks about astrology, it seems so up in the air. It's so unrelatable and just really hard to understand. And I've taken 10 years of study and put it into 6 workshops, a full course, 6 workshops. And I'm really proud of it. It's going to be great. So I'm super excited. It starts tomorrow, so you don't have a lot of time if you do want to sign up, especially if you want to get the bundle price. And I probably, even if you do sign up last minute, I might not be able to send you the Zoom link because I do have to send all the emails and everything myself. I do run my business completely by myself. So please do not wait last minute to sign up for even the individual one, because that will be really hard for me to send the Zoom link, because at least the hour before the workshop, I'm going to be preparing for the workshop. So don't use the payment link after 2 p.m. tomorrow Mountain Time, or I'm gonna be sassy about it. So be salty, because I might not be able to send you the link because I might not see the email because I'll be busy. So, but yeah, let's move on. So let's talk about this quarter moon, which I absolutely love because I don't see a lot of astrologers that talk about the quarter moons. I mean, everyone wants to talk about the new moons or the full moons or the eclipses or the big aspects that are happening. No one ever talks about these quarter moons, which are so specific to that week. So this week, when you're looking at this week ahead, this is likely to be extremely accurate because it's only about that time frame. It's only for this week that this is in effect. So it's really only going to affect you from August 12th to August 19th. It's a very specific time frame. So it's only going to affect you for that time frame, which makes it very specific, very detailed, very much on point, and so much more accurate than many of the other things you read. I mean, you can look at transits, you can look at the aspects, you can look at the eclipses, and those are better for like larger themes a lot of times, unless it's like the moon, which the moon is very like short-lived. It's a couple hours that you might experience that aspect. But this really tells you like what's the theme of the week, right? What's going on this week? And this week is going to be intense because guess what? This quarter moon, this first quarter moon is in Scorpio, for one, which I love Scorpio. However, it's it's kind of a difficult placement in my chart this week. Hopefully it's gonna be a great week. I know it's gonna be a great week. Tomorrow's definitely gonna be good. I definitely decide not to start my classes during this week, though, because of the way it looks. So let's look at this chart. Okay, so we've got the moon in Scorpio. So for one, we've talked about quarter moons. Quarter moons are very much about growth, challenges, tension, action steps, all of that comes after that initial intention that you set at the new moon. So go back to the new moon. What were you doing? What were you thinking? What were the intentions you set? What began right? What seeds were planted during the new moon, because the new moon's a conjunction, it's the seed, it's the beginning of something. And this is when that intention, that seed, that beginning is reactivated in a very tense, active, challenging aspect. So this is really when things get moving. This is when challenges arise. This is when, push comes to shove. Are you really going to do what you said you were going to do? Are you really going to pursue your goals and make sure that you actually fulfill that intention that you set at the new moon? Because this is everything that's in the way, but also everything that's motivating you to actually fulfill those intentions and those goals. So when we go to this quarter moon, it's in Scorpio. And here's what's so difficult about Scorpio. Scorpio is a very dark sign. It's associated with trauma and power struggles, things that are out of our control, very deep, dark, occult, death, taxes, the very dark side of life is very associated with the sign of Scorpio. So those are the challenges that are likely to occur during this time is, we're very likely to get triggered for trauma to come up to the surface, to have to do a lot of psychological digging. There may be secrets that are revealed. There may be, betrayals, things that have to do with intimacy, sex. This is a very intense sign. It's the sign of intensity. So power struggles, problems with taxes, all of that is very likely at this time. Also issues with shared resources. So if you share resources with someone because you're married to someone, or you have a business partner and you share business income and things along those lines, this could affect that. Now, really, where this is going to happen for you, where this theme is going to come up, really depends on what house the moon's in, right? So what it's really talking about is really going to kind of differ from person to person. And that's why we'll go over the personal zodiacs later. Is in general, we're all probably going to be pretty intense, pretty triggered, having power struggles, having issues with intimacy. But the question is like with who and where. And that's based on your personal astrology chart. And that's why I also suggest that you always have your birth chart, that when I do these celestial guidance readings, because that way then you can compare this chart to your birth chart and kind of see how it's affecting you personally. And of course, if you don't have a birth chart, you can get a free one on my website. That is in the comments and the description if you need a free birth chart. That's the main warning before we get into anything else in this is people are likely going to be easily triggered at this time. I mean, especially because this is at 20 degrees. This is the last decan of Scorpio. So we're getting towards the later degrees where the late degrees tend to be really unstable, more so towards like 28, 29 degrees. But 20 degrees is moving in that direction. So if you have anything at 28, 29 degrees Scorpio, this moon is going to be touching it and it's going to be activating it. So it's very likely if you have any kind of critical degree or instability in your own personal chart, or also 0 degrees of Sagittarius will also be affected by this, it's going to be more pronounced and more uncomfortable for you. Now, it is strongest at 20 degrees, but definitely it will be hitting the critical degrees because it's at 20 degrees. So it's hitting all the way from 20 degrees to 0 degrees of any sign. So it's activating those critical degrees, and that's something to keep in mind. So everyone's going to be a little bit more triggered, a little bit more pushy even, or assertive. There's more likely to be power struggles with people. And a lot of that is even more enhanced by the other stuff that's going on here. So let's get into the rest of the chart. So one, of course, it is a quarter moon. It's squaring the sun in Leo. So our ego is in a place of creativity, of play and fun, but emotionally we're super triggered. So like we would like to enjoy and express ourselves and have fun and experience pleasure. However, we're feeling very vulnerable, very triggered during this time. Scorpio is also the sign of sex. Leo is the sign of pleasure. So and squares are action. So that can sometimes be pleasant, it can be spicy and fun. Just in general, though, for everyone, it's probably going to be kind of uncomfortable, especially because we also have the moon opposite Uranus over here in Taurus, creating this giant T-square to the sun. So there's a lot of tension between, emotionally we're feeling very vulnerable, we're feeling very triggered. And this, Uranus likes to break things. It likes to create chaos and kind of just create sudden unexpected events. So this can really add to us feeling triggered. So there could be some kind of like financial or value or material aspect in our life that triggers like some kind of chaotic event in our finances, and then we're like super triggered and like our ego is super unhappy, and kind of may also this setup may revert us very much back into our childhood coping mechanisms, because Leo is the child. So Leo is the child in the chart. It has a lot to do with our childhood, our inner child. So the inner child is taking a huge hit from this setup, from this T-square between the moon and Uranus. So that can be very painful, very shocking, very unsettling. So it's very likely like our inner child is going to have a rough time this week, just for everyone. So be kind. Everyone's kind of going to be having kind of a hard time this week. And which is not surprising. I mean, with the current political environment, politics are everywhere. Everyone's getting triggered. Everyone's getting offended. It's a very tense and painful time in general. And this is just kind of reinforcing all of that. And it's really kind of almost setting us back to a place where we're reverting to childhood behaviors with this setup. I mean, it can have some positive outlets. I mean, Uranus is in Taurus, and that can sometimes be a sudden windfall of money, especially because Scorpio is also like investors and loans and grants, other people's money that's your money, right? Inheritance, things of that nature. And Leo is play and joy and passion and pleasure. So this could have a nicer side to it. But in general, people are very triggered, and it's going to get worse. And there might be some very like sudden downturns in the economy that could be very distressing. Things of that nature may occur this week. So I would be looking out for that and preparing for that at this time. Now, outside of this giant T-square that we have going on, we also have Saturn trining the moon. So this kind of helps. I mean, Saturn aspects in general are considered kind of malefic or bad or challenging in some way, because Saturn is a malefic planet. It's very difficult. It's kind of oppressive. So we may be feeling a real sense of heaviness, disillusionment, feeling like that we're triggered because things are just kind of impossible and oppressive in some way, feeling like we've had to given up our dreams or our fantasies because we're having to face reality with, Saturn and Pisces trying the moon, very much kind of that vibe. However, this can also be an opportunity to use our trauma and our feelings and our shadow self in order to pursue our long-term goals and dreams in a more practical way that we can actually achieve it over time. It's just not going to be easy. We also have Saturn squaring the Mars-Jupiter conjunction, which it's nice that Mars is caught up to Jupiter, because Jupiter is expanding the energy of Mars. It's giving us a lot of fire, a lot of energy, a lot of ability to learn and travel and just go, right? Unfortunately, this is being squared by Saturn. So Saturn's like, but wait a minute. So Saturn's over here saying that, there's restrictions and limits to what we can do and say and go, and creating this tension here, where you have to kind of compromise with Saturn before you can move forward with any of the wonderful, beautiful things associated with Mars and Jupiter and Gemini. So there's definitely a stop and go energy here. So we have a lot of motivation. We have a lot of drive. We're really thinking about the future and our vision and our dreams, but we're really having to stop and take an assessment of the situation, to get realistic, to be more disciplined, to check in with reality in order to actually gain access to this energy. So that's kind of annoying and oppressive. Let's be honest. It's not fun. But again, this is giving us a huge opportunity to be able to grow if we are willing to come to terms with reality and step into discipline and responsibility in the situation and take accountability and responsibility for our lives at this time. Now, the sun is also in conjunct Saturn, so our ego really doesn't want to do this. And I'm sure you're sitting here like, I don't want to hear anything about taking accountability or being responsible or, that things are going to take time. I want my results now, because the sun is in the place of, we all want to play. We want to all have pleasure and enjoy our lives and go out and have fun and, be childlike and be free and just shine and all of those wonderful things associated with Leo, especially because this is sextiling this Mars-Jupiter conjunction. There's an opportunity for our ego to embrace and embody these beautiful things associated with this learning phase of Mars and Jupiter conjunct in Gemini. So there's so much motivation. There's so much desire here. But the sun doesn't want to be realistic, especially about its dreams. Leo's like, no, I don't want to be realistic about my dreams because I'll never get anything done, because that's depressing. And then I'm not going to want to do it because that's just too much. So there's this imbalance, right? Like a chair with only, where one of the legs are shorter than the rest of them and it wobbles. That's definitely the energy of an in conjunction. So that energy between the sun and our ego being like, well, I want to play and have fun and have pleasure. And Saturn being like, but we have to be responsible and be realistic about our dreams and our fantasies and what we want for us on a spiritual soul level. We have to get real about that. And there's just this uncomfortable imbalance between those two energies. And that just is not fun. Basically, Saturn is ruining all of our fun. Sorry, Saturn, don't take offense. I mean it with love. It's just, as humans, a lot of us have a hard time with Saturn energy because it's very serious. It's very much about reality and structure and the physical and discipline. And those things are just not that fun, truthfully. They're important, very important, but not that fun. And some of us are better at dealing with Saturn energy than others. So some of us don't have as quite a hard time with Saturn energy. I have a hard time with Saturn energy because I was born at night. So me and Saturn don't always get along. I have a really hard time embracing Saturn energy, despite how serious I am. You would think that I'd have an easier time with it. But in fact, I have an easier time with Mars because I was born at night. Whereas if you're born in the day, you usually have a harder time with Mars and an easier time with Saturn. Also, I'm a Scorpio, so I doubly have an easier time with Mars than with Saturn because I'm ruled by Mars. So, yeah, so it's going to be kind of a difficult week. It's definitely a period of growth, a great time to work on your long-term goals, to really put in effort, a really good time to be disciplined, especially around creative pursuits. I know it doesn't seem like it's any fun to be disciplined and take accountability and take responsibility. However, when you add discipline to creativity, the results are amazing. That's where you get mastery, So that is a beautiful thing that we can take advantage of. So I know that this is not very fun energy. I know that this week is going to be very difficult. However, still do try to have some fun, but also make sure that you are taking care of what you need to, taking responsibility and accountability for your life and being willing to learn and grow, because that's all this Earth journey is about. It's about learning. It's about growth. So here's your opportunity. Take it up, right? And this is a beautiful time to learn through creativity, through play, through childlikeness, right? Childlike love and play and fun. So just, embody it, but also make sure that you're taking care of what you need to, especially because we've got Mercury and Venus also in Virgo. So we're really looking at, this is a time of practicality. Like, the planet of love and beauty and money has moved into the sign of health and daily life and, analysis. So this is a time to really look into your health and, your values around health and daily life, to look into what you're doing with money in your daily life. What are your relationships from the day to day? Also, thinking about life in general from a very practical, analytical place. Now, Mercury has gone retrograde, so communication, especially around these things, is likely to be kind of muddied because there's going to be so much of it. This is a time to reflect and redo things. So this is a time to kind of redo how you've been thinking about things, how you've been communicating things. And you're likely to end up redoing like a bunch of paperwork, or anything that has to do with technology. So just prepare yourself that this is a time of reflection and a time for do-overs. So, we didn't get it right the first time. We were moving really fast when, Mercury was going through Leo. I mean, it does slow down as right before it goes retrograde, but we as people were probably moving really fast as it was getting ready to go retrograde, and kind of moving too fast and not really taking into account every little detail, especially since this went retrograde in Virgo. So, prepare yourself. It's time for do-overs, and don't be too hard on yourself. We all mess things up. We all have a little bit of trouble with Mercury retrograde, where we have to reflect more on our thoughts and our communication and just everything about thinking and technology and short distance travel, having to change plans. That, we all come up with little things that bother us during Mercury retrograde, right? That, it happens to everyone. We all have to make mistakes sometimes and then go back and do it over. And that's what this time is for. So don't be so hard on yourself if you find yourself having to redo something 2 or 3 times during this retrograde, because that's usually what happens. And don't be surprised if whatever you're redoing has a lot to do with like the minor details of things, having to go back and edit the details that you may have missed or misrepresented, whatever it may be. You probably missed some of the small details and have to do some things over, especially if it's paperwork. The fine print in contracts can be a pain, and there may be some situation with that as well, but it's likely about the details and also how things are affecting your daily life. So take time to reflect on your daily life, reflect on your health, reflect on the details, but don't be too hard on yourself. Virgo can be very critical in its shadow aspects, where it's very harsh and judgmental. Be kind to yourself. We all make mistakes. Okay. Now, again, I do have my astrology course available. The deal for the bundles ends at 12 p.m. tomorrow, because the first class is at 3 p.m. tomorrow Mountain Time. So if you do want to learn astrology, please sign up. I will leave the links in the description and the comments. And I'm super excited for this course. I think it's going to be amazing. Also, the Facebook group, I'm trying to put a lot of effort into that too, so that there's lots of resources so you can continue your learning outside the workshops as well. And I'm really trying to make this great for intuitives in order for them to learn astrology and be able to heal themselves, heal other people, and maybe even do this professionally. So if you're interested, check out the link to sign up, check out the Facebook. There's information there. There's tons of information available. The classes are going to be great. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be pretty personal, because there's not a ton of people in the class. It's over Zoom. So there's going to be time for questions. There's going to be a lot of information. And so, yeah, if you're interested, please sign up. And I'm going to get out of here. Bye.